Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Iyori Folari. Well, I did sort of indicate that we just possibly might be continuing with our subject matter yesterday, the travails of the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Onoge. And so today we'll be looking at, well, the whole case, of course. We'll take your calls as well, and also maybe explore a bit the substance and, from the point of view of society, perhaps, the shadows of this case as well. Well, my guest this morning, Dr. Amadi Boyo, he's a public affairs analyst.
Thank you.
And interestingly, you're not a lawyer, which is just as well. Represent the rest of us in terms of your understanding, the unlearned minds, just a member, in right standing with society. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very much.
Also, all of that also applies to Mr. Ojo Akinwale. No doubt, as a patriot, that is also the way he's going to see it. But then he has the additional advantage of being a lawyer, and so it might well be that some esoteric aspects, corners, alleyways of this whole thing, maybe he'll bring those to the fore, because there are regulations and there are methodologies. We heard in yesterday's program from our commentators that, the facts are not very much in dispute, but it's the procedure that a lot of professionals are, quarreling with. For instance, being quote-unquote unlearned, most Nigerians who are not lawyers probably would have been struck by the fact that up to 150 SANs have offered their services to defend the CJN. In fact, Malaki Ugumadu, president of the Committee for the Defense of Human Rights, was here yesterday and testified that actually having been there, that is to the court premises, he can say that at least he's seen about 45 of those, esteemed lawyers. So I guess today, the question is, and I'm going to start, let me just start with both of you ordinary citizens, but you know what I mean. Let me start with the ordinary citizen. Let me start with Dr. Boyo. Now, this whole matter, the substance of it, as understood by most people, is that these charges are brought that a public officer has infringed certain conditions that are indispensable to his, shall we say, integrity in office. You must pass through certain, if you want to call them hurdles, go ahead and do so, but you must be cleared at certain levels. Now the charge is that there are some aspects that were not complied with, and therefore I think the implication is that the CJN can't really occupy his seat. Now, he was to maybe shed some light on this yesterday, but then he didn't show up. Worryingly, 5 governors before then had counseled along this line, but we were saying, people were thinking before the event that, nah, he's a man of law, he knows better than to, not obey court processes, due processes and all, but he didn't show up. And now the matter has been postponed. Let's look at the so-called substance of the matter. Amadili, what do you think about this whole thing?
Yeah, it's quite unfortunate. I mean, the way and manner this matter has, as it were, evolved over the last few days, quite unnecessary, if not for the fact that everything in this country seems to always have a political coloration to it. Most people have not taken pains to read. It was a whistleblower. All this happened in the context of whistleblowing, where somebody petitioned that the CJN did some lodgements over a period of March to July 2016. On a particular day, he did 5 lodgements of $10,000 each. Another time, 4 lodgements of $10,000 each. Another time, 2 lodgements of $5,000 each. Then some euros came in after. And all this within a period when it was in the Federal Court of Appeal. At this time, he had not been made the Chief Justice of Nigeria. And the person was trying to put them in context of the CJN's declaration, assets declaration that was done before he became the CJN. And the CJN said, well, I did an asset declaration while I was in the Federal Court of Appeal. And I did this one when I became the CJN. But I gave all the bank accounts, the 2 Union bank accounts, but I forgot to drop the bank account of one of the other banks in order not to promote the names of banks. We just leave that off. There was a bank that he did not mention the name, and that was a bank where he had deposited these. Of course, to the man on the street, $10,000 is like small money, you know. But at the end of the day, it's not the amount of. I said to the man on the street.
You said $10,000 is small money.
These days,
to the man on the street.
Oh yeah.
$10,000.
People expect big men to have much more than that. You
Okay.
see, that's
Okay, I get what you mean.
So the man on the street was about $10,000.
Okay,
You know?
okay.
But at the end of the day, the question that should arise really is that the lodgements that came in, you know, there is a money laundering act that prevents people from depositing, individuals from depositing exceeding an amount of money into the bank. So he divided them into this amount. Now, the question people are wondering about, the ordinary citizen, is not just the process, because what the lawyers like himself are saying is that due process was not followed. The NJC and the Judicial Service Commission ought to have been the proper body to have. But what people are also saying is that the Chief Justice of Nigeria is the chairman of both bodies. But the fact that he's chairman of both bodies should not stop them from going through those bodies. Maybe those people will excuse him as a chairman, but either comes to equity.
He himself, what
either
it was
comes
said,
to equity must come with clean hands.
probably refuse to sit in judgment on his own case.
You know? So that's what people
So
are saying.
the guesswork was that if they had done it that way that you are saying, he
could have
probably would have stepped aside himself.
Yeah, that's what people are saying. And people are saying that it's inauspicious in the sense that this days of politicking elections in view, there could also be an attempt by the party in power to put somebody there
to
and
get
remove
a so-called pliable
person.
Chief Justice
This guy may have been too difficult to
Nigeria.
talk to. So these are the things, and these things could have been avoided if whoever petitioned had gone straight to the NJC and gone straight to the Judicial Service Commission and things like that. But for goodness sake, the man did what he thought was best to him. And I would think that, and the Chief Justice of Nigeria has not refuted the allegations. All the people have been talking about has been due process, which I agree with. If there's due process, let's follow due process. But the substance here is that he that calls for equity or comes to the temple of justice should come with clean hands.
As the lawyers say.
The lawyers
be saying that one.
Yes.
You say as the lawyers say.
Yes, yes. So at the end of the day, this is where we are. So we that are watching from the sidelines are wondering, what's going on? What's going on? If for any reason at all, people say if he had appeared at the Code of Conduct Tribunal yesterday, he would have also been justifying the fact that the Code of Conduct Tribunal has a right to summon him. So by staying away, he has decided not to get himself involved in a tribunal that, as it were, looks like a kangaroo court.
In fact, one has to be careful what one believes in the papers. One paper is actually carrying a front-page headline.
There's the CCT. You can't try me.
You can't try me. There's CCT. As I said, one has to be very, very careful. I very much doubt if the CGN would have said that. But perhaps his counsel. I don't know. But as I was just saying, one just has to be very, very careful with these matters. And now, thank you very much, Amadili. And OJ, first of all, how much of that do you come along with, and where, if anywhere at all, are there areas of departure?
Yes, what he said, there is, people, the question to be asked is that, is it truly that the CGN is a public officer? Secondly, is it true that there is no total declaration of asset? So if we have that, there is no doubt that it can be subjected to disciplinary action. But in doing that, as we said, that it seems those who are in charge, they are in a hurry to go about it. Because if you look at the date of the petition and the swift action to bring the charge, it speaks volumes.
Okay.
So but that one overshadowed the real substance. And that is the most painful thing, that if things happen like this, we're supposed to understand, we're supposed to appreciate the main issue at hand instead of looking at the shadow, as you rightly said. But sometimes the main issue can go to the backyard while the shadow becomes the main issue.
And one of the things, you being a lawyer, I wonder how you feel about the matter. I understand, yeah, I can probably understand why some lawyers, and not just lawyers, maybe some other people, just don't like that whole spectacle of the number one judicial officer in the dock. And that, wait a minute, we got to rise. This is to mess with the judiciary. This is to compromise them. This is to embarrass them. This is to emasculate them. There are some commentators who are saying that the whole concept of the CJN standing before another judge and answering charges, as we say in newspapers, bordering on impropriety, it's just too much. And so they say, people are not looking at the substance that you've enumerated, are saying that, nah, this is a plot. This, apart from it being a plot, it might even be tribalistic. They haven't brought religion into it yet, but this is President Buhari and his people at work. And one begins to wonder, hello, the substance, the facts. Why are those not being aired at all?
It's unfortunate how they allow this thing to get to this level. Because if proper procedures followed,
yeah,
they will have been vindicated.
So there was a bit of messing up on government's part there.
When there is wrong thing, a wrong step, because you cannot put something on top of something.
Of nothing.
It will fall.
On top
of nothing. On top of nothing.
Yes.
You have to put it on top of something. And when it will fall. And that is the problem they're facing. Another point, yesterday, they really admitted that this CJN was not served properly, personally.
Yeah.
And it ought to be served personally. That is,
go.
in that case, the jurisdiction of the court can be questioned. And some people were saying because the CJN is above the law. No, it's not above the law. I did it in a matter where it's a criminal matter. I was challenging the charge, and the judge said, no, I will issue a bench warrant. I told the judge, no, I'm challenging this charge. Okay, if you bring a child out and you flog the child, you discover that, sorry. You cannot take the arrow effect of that pain away from him. So in order to do that, you have to first challenge the charge. You have to look at the charges. Is it proper? And that's what they did yesterday, that there is no need for the CJN to appear. Since they are challenging the service, the jurisdiction of the court, until the jurisdiction of the court is properly constituted, that you can say that it's supposed to be there, it's not there.
Okay.
Then the question will arise.
Okay.
So you see that they go on upon mistake and upon mistake. And that's the reason there is a lot of conjecture that maybe that is the reason, because they don't want him there, because of the election. A lot of school of thought will come in, and you cannot blame people. You cannot say this person is wrong or right because of the procedure or the position we find ourselves now. Since even at the court yesterday, they admitted that they were wrong, they did not do proper thing. You see, that admission speaks volumes.
It does.
And that is it. We are learning.
No,
it's a learning process.
It's as you said, the haste, and this is what I'm hearing from lawyers, the unseemly haste in the eyes of the critics of this whole action gives cause for concern in the eyes of, those who are against this whole process, that it hasn't been satisfactorily conducted. But Amanda, let me ask you, as all of this is going on and we're following it, it might be something of an irrelevancy, but in other societies, you have such an exalted official, government official, and such grievous charges are brought. It's not unheard of for people to say, look, there's been this has been compromised. The integrity of the office has been compromised, and I think I just have to step down. You hear that where it's a matter of honor in other areas. Do you think we've got to that level here? Never mind whether or not it is in our character to resign honorably or not. But do you think this falls under those kind of situations?
Yeah, it falls under those kind of situations. But like what my friend here said.
Because you can't call him my learned friend.
No. He can be my learned friend, my learned colleague. Not my learned colleague, but my learned friend.
I think only two lawyers address themselves that way.
But then at the end of the day, I think we should also put ourselves in the position of the CJN. If you feel that the process has been abused, you begin to react. Because it's one, I agree with you, in other climes, we'll be looking at the substance. Wow, you posted this amount of money into your account. But yeah, you were judge of the Court of Appeal. You are not a Chief Justice of Nigeria, you are not yet in the Supreme Court, yes. But then you were in the Court of Appeal, you posted this, you lodged this money into your account. That in itself, maybe how did you get the money? But that's not the issue now. I think what the Chief Justice of Nigeria is trying to show is that, look, you can't embarrass me. And I won't allow myself to be embarrassed. If you feel you have a case against me, go through a proper channel. And then all the other lawyers are with him on this. And like you said, nobody wants is kind, as it were, to be ridiculed. So everybody is trying to stand up, because if it can be done to this man today, it can be done to every other person. Not minding the fact that, unlike the president and the governor, the CJN doesn't have any immunity. Maybe that's what they should be looking for in the future, because the CJN has no immunity. And the CJN has an oath is swore to. And people will always expect anybody in that position to be an angel. Of course, it can be an angel, but people will expect you to live up to the tenets of your office. And that's why people are quarreling. But I agree totally with the lawyers who claim that there's so much hurry in this thing that it looks, one, suspect. Two, and when you are rushing to do things, you tend to miss your steps, and maybe they've gotten themselves wrapped up in all kinds of challenges now, because they did not go through what we call appropriate procedure. Now, the question people now ask that, okay, if they are going to go through the appropriate procedure, what should they do? Will they go to the same NJC where that's the whistleblower?
Yes,
They go to the same NJC, they go to the Judicial Service Commission, or do they go to the Code of Conduct Bureau? I would have thought that the Code of Conduct Bureau, having lawyers there, will have been the one to tell the whistleblower, oh my God, you can't bring this here. We can't touch this. Redirect to the NJC, the National Judicial Commission. Take it there. Because even every court should know its own jurisdiction and its own limitations. But for the Code of Conduct Bureau to transit the whole thing to the tribunal, and for the tribunal itself to decide to sit, comprising of lawyers to decide to sit again, when they know that there is already a process that should have been followed, tells me something. Could it be that the CJN, being a public officer, not enamored by immunity, can be summoned? These are the things that they are trying to say. So I would blame, I agree with him that there seems to be what we call an untidy rush. I agree with him that procedure is so plain in the Constitution on what to do. Because even the president cannot remove the CJN, except the Senate, by two-thirds majority, moves a motion for the CJN to be impeached, to be removed. And this will now be taken to the president, who could veto or accept it.
Before all of this broke out into the open, because the whistleblower himself, reacting to a charge from opposition, party members that he's working as a hatchet man for the ruling party, had said, I've been investigating, he and his NGO have been investigating this matter for over a year, and it is only when they felt that they had the wherewithal in terms of whistleblowing that they had come forward with it, and that nothing concerns the presidency or the president about this whole matter. But how much of this story was government aware of before it broke is probably another question that might be in the minds of people. In other words, the accusation that, this is not straightforwardly infringement of protocols of being a public officer. It's not that. There's much more. It's this, it's political, look at the timing, why now, and so on and so forth. All of that is in there. But one wonders, if government were to know about this properly before it came out, wouldn't all these, magnifying glasses have been brought to the issue, and to see whether or not it is being done properly? I mean, what's the job of the Attorney General of the Federation? I suppose it's some sort of, in addition to everything else, he must be the legal advisor as well of the government. So how come nobody, and you can't say there are not lawyers of knowledge within this administration, nobody seemed to see it.
Or the Ministry of Justice.
Or the Ministry of Justice, for that matter. Nobody seems to see it, and so now the opposition are seeing all of this, and it's not rubbish. It's not poppycock, what they're bringing up. that there are procedures. Why was there an unseemly rush? So what, therefore, probably could be asked, are the motives of government?
Yes, that is the question. And you know that since, look at the appointment of the CJN before it was confirmed as this proper CJN, not from acting.
Yes.
We know what happened within that time. So if you now see this thing now coming up.
No, what happened? In case there's a foreigner who just has a stopover in Nigeria and is out tomorrow, what happened? His name was not sent to the Senate for approval, for ratification, right? In a substantive capacity.
Initially from the present administration,
yes.
from their body language, from their action. And it was not the person they really want to be in that seat.
That's the perception you have?
Yes, that's general perception. It was there then.
And it has been said that...
an outcry of the people, the way people are coming out now,
yes.
and senior lawyers were coming out now that no, the normal thing to follow under the law is that the most senior will be the CJN. Yeah. And reluctantly, it was made acting until while the president was not in, the vice president was the acting president that confirmed him.
Wait a minute. So wait a minute. Sorry, sir. That bit, as a lawyer yourself, and we're talking about procedure, we're talking about processes. The president was in because his vice president was there, and the vice president was in communication with the president, and the vice president would never have done anything that the president was against.
Yes, we know that. Once you are acting, you are not answerable to anybody. That time, you are the president. Until when the president comes, then you switch back
but unless you're suggesting that, that the vice president will go against his principal simply because he wasn't there.
It's not going against principle. It's taking charge. It's making a decision. It's not playing according to what the president is saying. He is the president, and he can take charge. Okay. That was the reason.
So that's your perception
that time.
Of...
That is how it's supposed to be, and that's how the law is. Yeah. He takes charge. Is the president, is the commander-in-chief at that time. It doesn't need that, okay, until when the president ratifies. It must go on.
You're right, sir. Apart from the fact that it is still one presidency.
Yes.
I know. It's one presidency.
It's still the same.
Whether it is Buhari in charge, or Buhari is on leave, or Buhari is away, and therefore Shibajo is in charge, it's still one presidency.
Yes.
And so you don't expect contradictory expressions from the same presidency ordinarily. I mean, this is not like DSS and who are the other people that were contradicting themselves? The other
FCC.
DSS
and EFCC
that were contradicting themselves.
That the acting president have to be swift and make a decision for the benefit and the betterment of the society. He doesn't need consultation.
So you hold to the opinion that the only reason he got to be sent to the Senate was because the president was away and Oshibajo, slipped it in while the president was away.
Well, I said it's a conjecture. Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
I like what you just said. That's the conjecture.
Okay. Yeah, because at the end of the day, the acting president has his own limitations, and he must have, if you want to remain successful in that position, you must be in constant communication with your principal, and you dare not do what your principal would not have done if he was around. One of them is, if there's a file in front of you and your principal has said, leave this file, you dare not go there because it can be reversed.
That's the conjecture again. Let me use conjecture for that as well. That's the conjecture as well.
So at the end of the day, if you say he did that because his principal was away, you are trying to bring in intrigues. You are trying to bring in innuendos and insinuations.
Exactly.
And that will not be very fair on the side of the acting president.
Especially because we're dealing with the, how do you lawyers express it? The principal, the topmost officer of the law. Is it judiciary or the law?
Is a custodian of the law.
Thank you very much. So such a person, I don't think must necessarily hold himself, not just be held, to the highest of standards. And so when ordinary people who don't know very much about the law are hearing stuff like, actually I forgot, that one that you are saying, it's a fact, but it was an oversight. I forgot about it. Well, it's like the people are listening. It's okay, all right. Now, there are those who will say that, so if Joe Bloggs, ordinary Franco Elise's common man, were to also offer such a defense to such a charge.
I forgot to take my driver's license.
Yes.
I forgot to renew my driver's license.
I was driving without a license, but you see, I forgot. I forgot.
But I think
there's some law that is not strict liability. You must knowingly if the word is said, knowingly, if it is, you said, I don't know, it's a defense.
I thought,
If you
you people
knowingly-
say ignorance of the law is not defense.
No, there's some laws
There are
that
some
is
exceptions.
not, yes, exceptions that are not strict liability if a person knowingly, so if he can prove that
He forgot.
he forgot.
How do you prove
And-
that?
and-
So
and
the
that-
substance of
and
the
then
case,
you look at it.
but the substance of the case that a lot of people are not paying attention to because of the sensational way
Called
in
the
which
shadows.
Okay, thank you very much. If you want to go there, what are things the substance of monies? For the moment, we're looking away from that and looking at the procedure. I believe we don't want to get into the particulars of the case, but I think I was reading somewhere that His Lordship had offered the explanation that, well, Esther codes, travel allowance, and that kind of a thing, in case you're going to start thinking now about where did he get the money. Well, we know how much public officers earn in Nigeria. How could an alleged $3 million US, which somebody has referred to as chicken change in this day and age, for which, okay, they can speak for themselves. It's not chicken change to me. How come he has that kind of money? People are saying, no, leave that matter. Don't ask about the money. Can we concentrate on the processes and procedures? And that's where we come up with, wait a minute, the substance is there. There are also shadows, and for some reason, people are saying, you got to fix the shadows before you can look at the substances.
Yes, that's the reason there is a procedure, there is law. You know, if we are doing things that is not according to the law, it will lead us to chaos. And that's the reason law is there. The reason is that I must know my obligation and I must know my right. But if there is an obligation on the prosecuting side and they have not done that,
yes,
it vitiates the
yes.
whole thing. And that makes it
and then
void.
In the interest
Ab
of
initio.
orderliness and being a disciplined society, I suppose we just have to conform. If there was a problem with the procedure, as you were using that interesting legal word, it can vitiate everything that has gone before, and society has to be down with that. In other words, you hear about people getting off on technical charges in different matters, different, not relating this to that. But we hear it oftentimes that just like a technical knockout, a lawyer can also, actually achieve, quote unquote, a technical knockout in court. You can have a case thrown out simply because it wasn't properly,
Yes, the reason is that once we have agreed that this is the procedure to follow, we must follow it.
And if there's
That
any-
is, the law is the
And if
law,
there's any
irrespective
departure-
of moral aspect of it.
And
A
society has
law-
become used to the person must be allowed to go free if there was anything in the procedure that was untoward.
That is the letter
That's-
of the law. We
yes.
can change the law now and say there is no
Maybe I
need.
can. Maybe I can.
To
Maybe
go
I
to
can.
NJC.
Let me bring in, I'm coming to you, Mandela. Let me bring in Mr. Additional in Palm Grove. Good morning, sir. Mr. Additional, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for calling in. Please go ahead.
Thank you. I like to contribute to the program. That's why I call.
Please go ahead.
Okay. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, good morning.
Good
sir.
morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, thank you very much. Uncle Yori, I like to make the whole world understand this. It has been part of us in these parts of the world, especially Nigeria. Now, hello?
We can hear you.
Okay. Now, in a case like this, especially when the case comes up and it has to do with people of hierarchy. Now, when things like this happens, it has always been part of us that all the lawyers, or especially, let me give a very good example of my contribution. I remember very well during Saraki's problem. When Saraki was charged to the code of conduct, whatever, at that time, I remember so well that it's almost about 80 lawyers and senators followed him to the court at that particular time.
For moral support.
Now, yes, for moral support, and even SAN, you can imagine about 40 SAN went with him to the court at that particular time simply because they want to defend him. If such matters happens to just common man in this nation, I believe it will be a different ball game entirely on how they will handle it. Now, the same thing is happening now. Is it because the man is a Chief Justice of the Federation, or what we call it? That is why anybody will now begin, all the lawyers now comes up with a lot of laws that will cover that man up. No, it is not just good, Uncle Yori.
But what do you think of what the lawyers are saying, sir? That, look, without prejudice to whatever is referred to as the substance, there must be a proper process.
Yeah. So that I will agree with you that there should be, those people have to follow the normal protocol, the due process. I understand all of that. But that is why they are now forgetting that there is a particular charges to that CGN. Because something has been done by that man, and people refuse to see that one now, simply because it's...
Okay, Mr. Additional, I'm so sorry to rush you, but I've got to rush off on break. Really apologize. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back. Welcome back, and we're looking at the CJN, his travels, the substance, and the shadows of the matter. And we have Dr. Modeli Boyo and Mr. Ojo O.J. Akinwale. And let me ask you, Mr. Akinwale, right now, it's theories galore, speculations galore, conjectures galore, because we don't actually know what's going on. Now, one other thing that I've heard is that, wait a minute, perhaps this was actually set up to fail. That is to say, as we are talking about it now, if somehow, because of all these processes, procedures, etc., the whole matter is thrown out, then you can't revisit it later on. Now, it might seem such a bogus theory, but as I said, we're hearing all sorts of things. Is that something that is even conceivable in terms of strategy?
Yes, because what cannot be wrong in having that kind of thought? The reason is that you believe that people at the prosecuting edge that are lawyers, they are well lettered.
Oh,
they know the law.
They know better.
They know the procedure.
They know better than what's going on now.
When you know the procedure and you know that this is highly placed official that is going to be tried, and that means that you must cross your T's and dot your I. But if you are not doing that, it will seem as if you're just playing to the gallery. You intentionally doing that just to
again
cause a stir in the society.
We have to say, put this in the box of conjecture.
Yes, yes.
Conjecture on it.
Because
Mr. George, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yori, and good morning to your panelists.
Thank you for calling in. Good morning.
Good morning.
Uncle Yori, yesterday when I listened to several arguments about this due process thing, I carried out some investigation. And I discovered that referring in any infraction by a judge to the NJC only concerns the duty of a judge if the judge committed that offense in the course of his duty. If it is a criminal offense outside the duty of the judge, it does not need to be referred to the NJC. And the one that is being considered now by the CJN was not an offense he committed in the process of his duties. People are refusing to see that. Even lawyers, I'm surprised many lawyers are, turning blind eyes to that. It is not a law in any case that if a judge is, he commits an offense, even in the course of his duty, that it must first be referred to the NJC. It's not a law. It was just an arrangement that is not backed by law. But even then, Uncle Yori, it is only when the offense was committed in the course of his duty as a judge. In this case, the CJN failed to declare his offense, and he did not do it in the course of his duty. This must be understood clearly. So those who are saying due process was not followed have committed an error, I dare say.
Okay, Mr. George, thank you very much for calling in. Quickly get a lawyer's opinion on that.
Yes, that court is not a court of competent jurisdiction to try criminal matters. When we're talking about crime,
Which court? The
NJC or
NJC?
no,
CCT.
the CCT is not a court.
No,
When we are
no,
talking
no.
about
People
criminal,
saying that the
when
matter
we are
should have
talking
first of all gone to the NJC, and should they have thrown him under the bus, so to speak, only then can other organs take hold of him.
No, I'm just trying to react to what he's saying. That when we're talking about crime, it is only court, like High Court, Court of Appeal,
So what he's saying is that
Magistrate Court that will
that
try that. So
this
that
thing
is
did
the
not-
one
this
that
thing
he
did not
said is
happen in the
exempted.
course of his activity, of his duty as the Chief Justice of Nigeria.
And that provision that says a judge must first of all go before the
NJC.
NJC.
That's
you
the
know,
procedure. Even if the court is going to go through,
that it has to be
even if it's a
about,
crime,
it has to concern
It's not a
something
crime
he
he's
did
talking
about.
in
Even
the
if it's a
course
crime.
of his duty.
even if it's a crime that is committed outside, there is
Okay.
a procedure to follow. And
Are
that
you
means
saying-
it's going to a court, a main court, not a tribunal.
okay.
When you are going to a
That's your
tribunal,
counterpoint.
it's not.
So this is your counterpoint.
It is a tribunal. This is an administrative tribunal.
Okay.
Yeah, but let's remember
It
that
is not
this
this is not a court
this
of law.
tribunal
It's an
is-
administrative tribunal. So what he's saying is not applicable to this case.
Without trying to say, I'm not in any way saying that process was followed, but this tribunal is code of conduct. And the matter was referred to the tribunal by the Code of Conduct Bureau. And what this last caller was saying is that this problem came as a result of not declaring your assets. It didn't come from an EFCC saying you posted some money, you lodged some money to your account, and this and that, so you are taking money laundering. It's coming from declaration of assets. Now,
And
are
that's
you
about and
saying that-
concerns the code of conduct
are you
of public
saying-
officials.
Yes, are you saying that anything that concerns code of conduct and declaration of assets should be taken to NJC or should be taken to the Code of Conduct Bureau? I think that's what we're talking
Now,
about.
the error
But
here
what-
is
what-
not only about not taking him or not following to NJC. What about they're supposed to send a letter to him? And remind, do you have other things you want to declare that you've not declared?
Okay,
So he has
I'm
to
going to
react
come
to
back
that.
to that.
That
I'm going to
one
come
has
back to
not
that.
been done. A lot of
Mr. Amba
vices.
in Lokoja, Benue State. Good morning, sir.
Lokoja, Kogi State.
I beg your pardon.
morning.
Kogi State. Good morning.
Yes, sir. I want to make a contribution on this matter.
Please
Yeah,
go
can you hear
ahead.
me, sir?
Please go ahead.
Okay. My contribution is that I discovered that, the lawyers are trying to play politics with this matter. And some of them, looking at their faces, it seems in one way or the other, they are also guilty of some of the bribing issues that have been rocking the judiciary. So, and in view of that,
Are you talking about the lawyers you saw on television at the
lawyers, yeah, I'm talking
tribunal?
about the lawyers, because how would this say almost about the 91 lawyers, include Stan, going to the court to defend CJN on a criminal matter?
Because,
the fact is
because
that-
they want to defend the integrity of our judiciary, of our judicial system.
Now, if you want to talk about integrity of the judiciary, the most important aspect we have to look at is the substance. We have to look at the substance. If you look at the substance of the matter, did the man actually commit the offense? Then secondly, the Constitution also expressly made it so clear where the NJC should come in and where the CCT should also come in. So the issue at hand is presently dealing with the issues that concern the judicial officer, not in the discharge of his duty as a judicial officer. So this is an offense committed outside his duty. So these are the substance we have to look at. I don't care about the time. There are a lot of things that is rocking the judiciary.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Mba.
I think that's a question you posed to him before. The issue of the case coming up as a result of, is it because in the process of carrying out his activity as a judicial officer or the code of conduct of, asset declaration? Now, that's what the initial caller before this was talking about, that if it was as a result of crimes committed while carrying out his duty as the Chief Justice of Nigeria, you could go to the NJC. but that this was a code of conduct that was declared before. These things that were said, they were committed before it even became the CJN. Now, I agree with you in total that we could have gone through the NJC and the Judicial Service Commission. This would have been easy to do. But now that it is in this situation, let's put aside conspiracy theory and just ask ourselves, is this thing fair? Is it just? And I think if we're looking at it that way, we can ask ourselves, this guy in question has not at any time said, it's a lie. I didn't do any of these things.
We haven't heard from him, but then again, being a man of...
No, he said he forgot. That's what I'm saying. We have heard from him where he said he forgot to declare. He didn't say he didn't do it. In fact, he was talking more about the fact that I did not declare. It's not because I didn't take it. Yes, I did this. I lodged this amount of money, but I forgot to write it in the paper that I took it and I lodged this amount of money.
Okay.
And that's where the problem is.
Emeka in Kaduna, I believe. Good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning.
Thank you for calling.
Yes, all these things they are doing yesterday, no matter what is involved, we should not lose sight of the remote control. This thing is not unconnected with what is happening in Rivers State. The tribunal case coming up as a result of the APC crisis in Rivers State is the genesis of this thing now. The whole thing is political. Who is doing it? We know the person who is sponsoring this thing. He has distanced himself. He is highly political. The case of Rivers State is the genesis of this very, very crisis now we are facing. They have denied, they know that they will be denied of candidates. They want a person who did their deed. I remember that this case is coming very soon. And their intention of winning all the whole South-South, beginning with Rivers State, where currently there are no candidates, is a precursor of this very crisis.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Emeka. Appreciate your call. But back to
conspiracy theories. That's what he's trying to do.
Conspiracy that's
theories.
why it's clear. It's clear. But I wanted to return to this substance. He has contributed that, look, also, as he put it, remote control, conspiracy theory. But one paper this morning is asking, did he neglect to declare that he had a domiciliary account? As a public officer, there are certain things that are no-no. Now, I didn't even know this bit about domiciliary account because, I mean, well, if you're a public officer, you can't have a domiciliary account.
You can't have a foreign account.
There's a difference between a domiciliary account and a foreign account.
It's not foreign account.
Yes, you know, because most of us have domiciliary accounts, you know, so these are in Nigeria. And your BVN, in any case, will link it up. So when you want to declare, unless, you understand, all of that is in there.
But don't forget, in 2011, when he did this, in 2011 when he did this, the BVN thing had not come out very strong.
No.
And people did not know that these things will eventually bring out all this wahala, if I may put it on the ground.
But the question was, did he neglect to declare it?
Yes, coming to that.
Did he neglect to declare it?
There
was one in euro, there was one in pound sterling, allegedly.
He declared the ones at Union Bank. These ones in domiciliary account were in Standard Chartered. And the question was that he forgot to mention that bank.
Contributed that, look, also, as he put it, remote control, conspiracy theory. But one paper this morning is asking, did he neglect to declare that he had a domiciliary account? As a public officer, there are certain things that are no-no. Now, I didn't even know this bit about domiciliary account because I mean, well, if you're a public officer, you can't have a domiciliary account.
You can't have a foreign account.
That's what I mean. You can have a domiciliary
there's a
account.
difference between a domiciliary account and a foreign account.
It's not foreign account.
Yes,
It's a
yes,
domiciliary account.
you know, because most of us have domiciliary accounts,
yes,
you know, so these are in Nigeria,
Yes,
and your BVN in any case will link
will
it up.
link it up,
So
yeah.
when you want to declare, unless you understand, all of that is in there.
But don't forget, in 2011, when he did this, in 2011 when he did this, the BVN thing had not come out very strong.
no.
And people did not know that these things will eventually bring out all this wahala, if I may put it on the ground.
But the question was, did he neglect to declare it?
Yes, coming to that.
Did he neglect to
Yes,
declare
he
it?
accepted,
Coming to
he
that.
There was one in
accepted-
euro, there was one in pound
he
sterling,
accepted,
allegedly.
he declared the ones at Union Bank. These ones in foreign domiciliary account were in Standard Chartered. And the question was that he forgot to mention that bank at all. He only mentioned the banks that had the Naira account.
Yeah, okay, forgot
And
the...
yes, now these guys that are doing the guys that are whistleblowers, I mean, conspiracy theories say, oh, they worked for Buhari before. You see, the point I always tell people is this, that if you know, I mean, if you are going to deal with people, you start with your enemies first. You understand me? If these people are out to pick on him, just make sure you don't have skeletons in your wardrobe. You can have wardrobes, but what you have in your wardrobes must not be skeletons. Because the question will be, how did these skeletons get there? Now, the question here is that these guys, people are saying, oh, these people that pick this thing out, they're not just NGOs, they're working in tandem with the government. Whatever it is. Whatever it
find
is.
those
Did they
skeletons?
find those skeletons there? And whose skeletons were there?
So this whole matter about who were they to find skeletons,
That's not the
continuing
issue.
the analogy,
That's not the
is
issue.
not the
That's
issue.
not the issue.
But
Yes,
you were
let's
going to-
look at the legal aspect of it. Since he said, I've forgotten, the case supposed to die natural death. The reason is this. The law is this. If there is a letter to him that, is there any of your accounts you've forgotten? And he said, yes. And write it back and say, this is it. And there is something you have not declared. Is there? Is there among the procedure? They can send it to you in order to know whether you did it intentionally or that procedure was not done. And he has said it. He said, I did it.
So why don't you
I did
allow
not
the code of
declare."
conduct
So
below?
once you have done that, it's
Why don't you
supposed
allow
to
the
even die,
code
then
of
send the
conduct?
form to
Why don't
him,
you allow the code
declare
of
it.
conduct tribunal to declare that? Oh, well, he forgot. He has filled the appropriate form. You can go home, discharged and acquitted.
The code
Comrade
code
Ayo
of conduct
in
supposed to send to
Oshogbo,
him.
good morning, sir. Let's take Comrade Ayo.
Yori.
Thank you very, very much for calling.
Good morning to our guests in the studio.
Good morning.
First and foremost, I want to ask the lawyer here, as per Section 172 of the 1999 Constitution, a person in the public service of the Federation shall observe and conform to the code of conduct. Is the CJN part of a public officer, sir?
He became a public officer when he was elevated as a judge.
All right, fine,
Yes,
sir.
it's by virtue of his
sir, there are
appointment
some
as a
conditions
judge.
precedent for you to become a CJN. You must be confirmed by the Senate, and you must declare your asset. Those are the conditions precedent for you to become a Chief Justice of Nigeria. And if you fail to declare your asset, it means you violated one of the conditions precedent for you to become the CJN of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now, saying that the process, the procedure, they ought to take it for the NJC, I don't think it is so. Because if, as a CJN, you violated the law, which is not part of the discharge of your duty, it doesn't have to go to the NJC. And besides that, that is something called nemo juris in casuasua. You cannot be a judge in your own case, in which case the CJN is the chairman of the NJC. So how do you reconcile that? So then, part of the powers of the Code of Conduct, I think the fixed schedule is 18 there, where the Code of Conduct tribunal finds the public officer guilty of contravention of any of the provisions of this code, it shall impose upon that officer any of the punishment specified under the subparagraph 2. So the Code of Conduct, I think, has the power to try the CJN, not the NJC. That is the fact of the matter. God bless Nigeria.
The procedure of a lawyer is different, of a judge is different. It's another tiers of government. So there is a procedure in following, in punishing them. Just like the presidency, the governor, they have immunity. There is a procedure to follow in any infraction by a judicial officer. So there is another procedure. It's not, the law is not only one law. People look at one side of the law, and there is procedure, there is other laws that must be read along
maybe we
with the
should
law.
come out here to say that we are not supporting the process taken by the whistleblower. I am of the opinion that the process could have gone through the NJC and Judicial Service Commission. But what the other aspect I'm looking at here is the substance. That if indeed this man had opened an account with maybe another bank, and I put in Naira there, and all the amount in the Naira was 5,000 Naira. And on one account I had 10,000 Naira, another 15,000, all together 50,000 Naira. I did not declare it. I don't think to get to the Code of Conduct Tribunal. They will simply have said, what is even there? You forgot. Put it back. But when you say you forgot about something, you declared the other ones that appeared innocent and appeared cool. You declared those ones. The ones you now forgot are the ones that appeared very, very sinister and could jeopardize your position, are the ones you forgot. Let me say this very loud and clear. You see, when people are there, wherever you are in public office, see, those that stay in glass houses should not throw stones. People have reinvented the statement to mean that those that live in glass houses should not walk about naked. If you know you're in a glass house, please wear clothes. Because at the end of the day, you don't blame people that are looking at you from outside and say, hey, you are naked. Because you ought to know this. Now, you deliberately, you forgot to list the ones that will implicate you, and you listed the ones. That's the way people are looking at it. Now, the conspiracy theories, I mean, I will give it to them that this is very inauspicious time. The government could be said to be playing politics because elections are near. Like the guy said from Rivers State, that Rivers State things could be there. That's why I said the government too did not handle, from my own perspective, I'm not a judge, I'm not a lawyer, could have allowed this thing to go through the normal process, and that the CCB could have advised whoever blew the whistle, look, take this thing through the proper course of event. The Attorney General has an open door, can meet the CJN anytime. The CJN's office is open to the Attorney General, and he could approach him and say, look, bros, it looks as if this thing is going on. And the Attorney General has so many lawyers in his office.
So many ways that
this will
address
before. So the dirty, washing the dirty linens in the public.
It seems a bit inept, a bit incompetent, and people are saying forget incompetency, that there's a whole strategy involved. That's the conspiracy theories. Yakub, good morning, and thank you very much for holding on all that while.
Yeah, thank you, Jesse. And then, good morning, Mr. Bull and the other gentlemen in the studio.
Good morning.
Jesse, all the people that called in, they are all spoke very well, except somebody that's been a conspiracy issue that is only him that knows it's because of River State issue that this kind of issue come up now. You don't know. Maybe you know what all of us don't know. That is that. But come to the issue, Jesse. The last caller says that this kind of issue ought not to go to NJC before it goes to CCB. We all agree. But the only thing is this. I would say that they still play to CJN hand. Why am I saying that? It was yesterday that I read it on social media. In fact, I heard it because I followed the issue straight away. I learned that they wanted to serve the CJN, and then the CJN asked them to give it to his aid. Why they play to his gallery is that the people had to prosecute the CJN. They had to know that this very particular issue is supposed to serve directly to the CJN itself. In fact, when he will not directed them to give the letter to his aid, they had to disagree with the man that no, you ought to collect this letter by yourself.
Okay,
but I will say that all the fans that follow the CJN to court, I don't know where they will start fighting for the people in the Kirikiri. Thank you and God bless you.
Indeed, thank you very much. And that's why yesterday we had two lawyers on set, and I think one of the things that came out was that this is not entirely a black and white affair in their considered opinions, that actually there were innumerable shades of gray in between black and white, which is where we always go in this country when a matter
50 shades.
When a matter becomes a bit obtuse, and you know, when we're going to do the Ayekoto thing, where both of you are Yoruba speaking, the word Ayekoto, it just that the world sort of rejects truth. You don't bring it on. And so when we want to do that thing, that's when we remember that, wait a minute, between black and white, there are more than 50 shades of gray. And so be careful.
Spectrum of the rainbow.
Be careful before you say it is white, and be careful before you say it is black. It could easily be one of those innumerable shades of gray. I guess all I can say is that we're going to keep on watching. This matter has now been adjourned to January 22nd.
I think it's 20.
January 22, I believe, and we'll see how it goes from there. I just want to thank you, gentlemen, Dr. Madeli Boyo, for taking the time off to come and speak to us as an ordinary, concerned Nigerian, how you see what's going on. And I thank you also, Mr. O.J. Akinwale, for giving us the perspective of a lawyer and the law on this whole matter. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Okay, then. So that's our program today. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Iyori Folani. Bye-bye for now.